My name is Adriann Walsh. I am the owner and only artist. And I opened about 10 years ago across the street in my old location. And I've been here for about 4 years. And it's been great. If I had to describe Haunted Heart Studio to someone who's never been here, I would say it's a chill environment. I try to make it as chill as humanly possible, welcoming private studios so people can come in and not be worried about the public walking in if they might be getting a tattoo in a more private place. And they don't have to worry about other people walking by and walking through. So really private and chill. I remember when I was a little kid and my dad's friends would all roll up on their motorcycles, and we had a pool in the backyard, and they'd all strip down and go swimming, and I'd see their tattoos and I'd be like, whoa, that's cool. And like from the time I was a little kid, I was like, can I have one of those? Like just obsessed with it. And then as it got more and more popular, I was like, maybe this is something I can do. I've always been artistically inclined. Always got in trouble for drawing in class. And just drawing on any scrap of paper that I could possibly find. So yeah, the biggest thing to let students know that art is a viable career path would be to stop giving them a hard time when they're doodling in class, because you're perfectly capable of doodling and taking in a lecture or listening to what the teacher is saying. And I just had so many teachers say, there's no money in art, you'll never be an artist, like drop the act, stuff like that. So the spite, though, was very helpful. Carried me a long way. The original inspiration behind the business was almost desperation. I worked for 10 years in retail. You know, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. It wasn't feeding my soul at all. And I was like, I have to get out of here. I have to. And I decided to just, if it didn't work, I could go back to retail, right? Like, who's going to stop me? So the journey up to that point entailed just sacrifice, like nonstop, working all day at my retail job, coming home and drawing all night, looking up references, talking to other tattoo artists, trying to figure out how I could get my foot in the door. My child was young then, like around 3 years old, so I feel like I really had to sacrifice a lot, especially when they were little. But it's worth it now, because now I've managed to build enough of a business that my kid, who is also an artist, can take over when the day comes. Yeah. This journey has impacted me as a person by making me a lot stronger and more resilient than I ever thought I was capable of. It's beaten me down pretty bad. There's times that I feel spread really thin trying to keep on top of everything, but the benefits are just always worth whatever I put into it. Every time you get broken down and you build back up, you're going to be stronger for that, and you have valuable lessons that you will remember, and you can work off those, and then you're like not making the same mistake you did in your first 5 years. In my opinion, the importance of this field is self-expression and the acceptance of other people's self-expression, which is way more prevalent now, because before you would hear, oh, you can't get a job if you're covered in tattoos. And now that millennials are doing all the hiring, we don't care if you have tattoos. Like, that's going to help. We're going to be like, hire the chick with the cool tattoos. And it's important that people feel safe to express themselves. And where tattoos are so popular now, it's just another way to do it. I think Haunted Hearts impacts the community in a really positive way, because we went so long without having like a long-standing, trustworthy tattoo studio, and now we have two, which is amazing. It's a place where people can go. Like, you don't have to travel to St. John, you don't have to travel to Fredericton, and people are always stopping me and being like, that's a tattoo shop? There's a tattoo shop here? I had no idea. But they're usually older, not on social media. And it's nice, especially for younger people in our community, like Gen Z, to be able to be like, oh, there's one right there, and they can come in and they can ask questions. And it takes the mystery out of the tattooing procedure, And that's why I always try to make myself open to questions, especially from younger people, so they can make informed decisions instead of like when I was 18 going to the city to get a tattoo, and like a scary biker man would be like, okay, sit down over there. And I'd be like, okay. And you didn't dare ask a question because it was such a scary environment. So St. Stephen really needed something like this, I think. Oh, I have a lot of future goals in terms of community involvement. So I am planning on turning my front gallery out there into an art studio just to showcase local work from local female artists who might not otherwise have a place to show off their art, and to put like their socials underneath and their contact information. So if any of my clients come in and they're like, oh, I want to buy that, that's beautiful, I can be like, you contact them. I'm not going to charge a commission because it's important that these people get like a signal boost and a leg up. That was given to me when I was younger, and I want to do the same thing. The person or event that had the biggest impact on my decision to become a tattoo artist would be a couple different people. My child's father, Richard, he always encouraged my art, and he was like, you can do it. And when I was like, oh, I can't draw as good as you, and he would help because he had been to art school and actually properly trained. Then there was Roger Gilman, who I used to work with in the very beginning, and he was just delightful and taught me so much. And Bonnie Rogers, who is a hairdresser in St. Andrews, who taught me how to run a business. She taught me the business side of things because hairdressing and tattooing have a tremendous amount in common. So without her, I would be basically treading water. And then, of course, Jake Jeffrey, who tattoos in St. John, and Jason Drake, who tattoos in Bangor. They were always there when I had questions. I'm like, how do I do this? What is this? How do I deal with this? Whether it be clients or technique, they were always there, lend a helping hand. Some of the main lessons I've learned from being a small business owner in a small town is you're going to make people angry just by existing. They're going to say, oh, I don't want a tattoo shop in my town. That's what I heard in the beginning. There's going to be people who are, for lack of a better word, just jealous of any success. People who are going to tell you it's not going to work, you're not going to last. And I hear people say that to new business owners here. Like, I'm established now, but you could take any new business within the last couple of years in St. Stephen, and there's so many people saying it won't work. Like, don't even add that to the conversation. It's so negative. Support them, go there, get their products, and if you can't afford to, that's fine. You can signal boost them online, you can share their posts, you can direct people there. Like, do we want to build our town up or not? I think we should build it up. The moment that made me realize it could be a reality was, I remember something that my mentor Jake said to me. He said, because the whole thing didn't feel real, the whole first 5 years. And Jake told me in the beginning, if you can make it your first 5 years, you're good, you're established, you'll always be there. And I remember I bought a new appointment book for the year, and I was like, oh, 5 years, this is my 5th appointment book. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I did it. And it was just such a rewarding feeling. Even though I was exhausted and burnt out and completely overwhelmed, it was all worth it. The advice I would give to any young artist who's living in an area similar to this, who wants to do what they love, is everybody's going to tell you you can't. Your brain is going to be telling you you can't. You just have to drive forward and be stubborn and absolutely refuse to give in and take your licks, right? Because you're going to make mistakes, you're going to have bad times, but you just got to keep moving forward with your goals in mind. And like, failing is not an option. It's never an option. You don't even consider it. You're going to make it work no matter what. And if you believe in that, you can help manifest it, right? So just manifest your goals. Don't give up. And if anyone in your circle is like saying, oh, well, you won't be able to do that, like people who are supposed to be your friends or family, just gently remove yourself from their presence and continue to do what's best for you and your goals. And don't let anyone else bring you down or stop you from doing it. You can make it work if you believe you can make it work. The advice I'd give to creative professionals learning to balance the creative and business side is ask for help, because the business side might not be your strongest point, and it's okay to ask for help. So like if you have a friend who runs a business, and ask your hairdresser, ask your nail tech how they do it. Like gather a wide berth of information so you can take from it what you need to. And there's resources online, and just stay on top of it. Like don't let things fall too far behind. With me, like my messages will build up, and then I'll have a pile of like shop receipts, and I'm like, oh, I have to add those into the book. And if you let it go for too long, it's going to become overwhelming every time you think about that task. So stay on top of it. Don't slack off. Ask for help when you need it. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be a paleontologist because dinosaurs in Jurassic Park had just come out, and I was obsessed with dinosaurs. It was all I drew. And then as I got older, I had this really scary period where I had no idea what I wanted to be, even when I was in high school, and I was like, oh my God, this is terrifying. I can't decide. I felt like I had a lot of doors closed before I could even think about opening them because of my family's financial situation. And I was like, oh, I'll just get a job. But as I graduated high school, and I guess my last couple of years of high school, started getting commission requests for art. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. So even though there wasn't a tattoo artist here in town at the time, people were asking me to design their tattoos and to take the image to a shop in the city. And I did murals for people and all kinds of commissioned artwork. And I was like, well, I guess I could do this for a living. The issue with that is people don't want to spend money on art for their homes. So I was really lucky to be able to turn this into a career, because people are always going to be willing to spend money on art for their bodies. If I could go back in time and give any advice to my high school self, it would be calm down on the boys, because I was boy crazy. It would be don't date musicians ever. Ever. Never date a musician. Sorry guys, just the way it is. Don't hang out with older men. When your mom tells you they only want one thing, she was right, she wasn't lying, and we wouldn't listen. And stay focused. And most importantly, I guess, surround yourself with friends who are going to uplift you, who have the same goals you do. Do not surround yourself with pessimistic people. Do not surround yourself with lazy people, people who are going nowhere. I know this sounds so harsh, it's such like a boomer attitude, but those people will see your success and they won't like it. And they'll try to drag you down with them any way they can. And you just have to surround yourself with the type of people that you want to be. Force yourself into that group and be like, no, I'm going to hang out with these people who are like driven. Unless they're jerks, then go make your own group and forge your own path. And if you have to hang out by yourself rather than hanging out with losers, hang out by yourself. Learn to love your own company, and you'll get where you need to be. Burn every bridge if you have to. And the only thing you will have is a bunch of people on the other side of the river who don't like you, but they can't touch you because you burned that fucking bridge. Well, St. Stephen has never been very artsy. So when I'm looking to the future of the art community in St. Stephen, I can see it as a really small, cozy group of people who are sticking together to just like hold the torch and pass on the torch. St. Stephen will never be St. Andrews. I think that's something that a lot of people in town have to realize. They're like, oh, well, St. Andrews does this and St. Andrews has that. St. Andrews has how many art galleries? Probably like 30, I don't know. And every single gallery sells art that looks exactly the same. And it's very sterile and boring and unwelcoming. So for St. Stephen, what I'd like to see is every single type of art being showcased, however we can showcase it. And if it's all crammed into one tiny little spot, even better. I mean, fiber art, that stuff is so cool, beautiful. Sculpture, wire sculpture, rock carving, I don't know, painting, whatever we can get our hands on, we should be showcasing and being like, look what we can do. And we also have to drop the parameters that stuffy art galleries use, like, oh, that's not good enough, and then because you have these kids who are like, my stuff will never be accepted into a gallery. We should be the community that's like, you can put your stuff on my wall, I'll accept it for the gallery. I think it's awesome. We got to give these kids a foothold, right? Get their foot in the door.